Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Pacific Northwest and Portland International Raceway for round number 5 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup, presented by the SCCA Foundation. I'm Greg Ginsburg. Joining me in the announce booth, as always, is His Eminence Larry Lefty McLeod, with Jonathan Grabowski working behind the scenes to give you all the best views of tonight's 60-minute sprint in our TCR and Club Sport classes. Set just minutes from downtown Portland, this fast, flat, and deceptively technical circuit has been a proving ground for drivers of every kind now for over half a century. Since 1961, PIR has played host to the legendary Rose Cup races, one of the oldest and most celebrated in American club racing. From grassroots heroes to future champions, generations of talent have battled through the festival curves, now known as the Shelton Chicane, and flown down the long front straight in pursuit of glory on this historic asphalt. And today, that legacy continues, and the track may be smooth, but the racing will be anything but, Larry.
It is going to be interesting tonight. Anytime we introduce a new track, it gets interesting, and it's going to be new to a lot of these drivers. It's going to be new to me. You've been there. You know what this place is like.
I have.
I've managed to get a couple laps in the iRacing sim a few weeks ago. Seeing this on the calendar, I thought, you know what? Let me give it a chance. And it is an interesting track. It's got some straightaways. It's got some twisty stuff. It's got places that encourages drivers to try passes that aren't there.
Exactly.
And it's going to have some very tight places for good passing zones. This could be very interesting tonight here with the classes that we've got.
Indeed, Larry, as we are just about halfway now through our 15-minute qualifying session, where we give our TCR and GR86 Cup, otherwise known as the CS Club Sport class racers, 4 attempts, 4 flying laps in order to set their fastest lap and set the grid for this evening's race. And we've got precious few drivers still out on track, Larry. It doesn't take long to make a circuit of this 2-mile course, or 1.967 miles, 12 turns, and takes just about a minute, actually less than a minute 20 for the TCR cars, a little bit longer for the GR86 Cup, the CS class cars to take. But you said it, it is that we've got decreasing radius corners. The Shelton chicane is a huge issue for drivers, put in years ago for IndyCar, who has been racing there, I think, since somewhere around 1984, 1985, or thereabouts. And some of the corners, like for example, turn 7, which is also a decreasing radius right-hander that takes you on to the back straight here, the longest straight. Very, very difficult to get the power down and get out of there. Also here, and you probably saw it, Larry, the front straight here, incredibly wide, much wider than the rest of the course. And that definitely challenges racers as they come down to that chicane. And as things tighten up considerably here on that front straight, you'll notice it is so wide, it puts in time as a drag strip, Larry, when we don't have road racers here.
It looks like a drag strip, and for the types of cars we have, they're not exactly these high horsepower. It's a lot of momentum cars in our field tonight with our 2 classes, and you know, they'll need to get that good entrance onto that. But if they don't, that's where the passing zone is going to be happening at the end of that drag strip before they get down into that more series of back and forths that you've got all the way down at that one end. You know, from there, it's going to be a lot of lead follow. Even when we get between our 2 classes, we'll see if those going to be any opportunities for passing, even among the faster class to the slower class, even in that area, or they're going to have to wait for the front or back straight.
All right, Larry, tell you what, we've got a guest waiting for us in the green room. It's Dale Maxwell from Slow Bros Racing, driving one of the Club Sport Toyota GR86 Cup cars, currently running 5th in the championship. Let's hear from him.
Hey, joining us here is Dale Maxwell. And Dale, how's your early introduction here to Portland gone so far? Dale? Can you hear us okay?
Dale?
I heard about half of what you said, sorry.
Oh, there you are. Hey, just wondering what your impressions are so far of Portland.
Obviously, it's a new track. Very, very different. It kind of reminds me of Long Beach, actually, but it is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Is it new? Like a lot of us may have just purchased it in the last 24 hours, some in the last week or 2. Did you get a lot of chance to actually get some seat time in here, or are you more on the end of the last few days?
I try and buy the tracks when they first come out, so I can at least get used to them. So I have driven quite a bit on this track. Not in this car, though, so it's definitely different.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be very different in different types of cars. I think tonight with the 2 different classes could be very interesting as well, given that we've got 2 wildly different types of cars. So could be fun to watch. Have you been looking at point standings and kind of pay attention to where you're at and looking to see who you need to be racing with as each race goes on?
I just checked in earlier, and just, you know, I'm kind of holding where I am. I think I'm in 5th right now, but yeah. I just noticed where we are in team standings. So I believe we're in P1 so far for the team.
Yeah, well, I see where in the driver standings, you're just a couple points back from your teammate, David, and just a few points ahead of your other teammate, Michael, who's back in the 7th in standings. So you guys already starting to talk within the team of, you know, who gets priority and whether or not there's easy passes versus difficult ones?
Not really. I think we're just kind of under the understanding, like, hey, if you can take the run, take it. You know, we're not really greedy as to who gets what, but you know, we just want to work together as a team and just make sure everybody finishes the race.
Yeah, always a good goal, and we'll see how tonight goes with that. But it's good to have you here pre-race. We don't, you know, always get a chance to talk in any of the post-race interviews about what people do outside of sim racing. But what do you do? What either for work or for hobbies and things that maybe aren't involving sim racing?
So I am a correctional sergeant, training manager for my local jail. I do firearms training, defensive tactics training, and I find and train other officers and new hires to work in a jail.
Okay.
And outside of work, I tinker with cars, mostly four-wheel drives. I have in the past been on the track just a few times for fun, but nothing ever serious.
Never thought about maybe trying any kind of, whether it's autocross or club racing or anything like that so far?
I'm thinking about autocross. I'm looking around at some different types of cars right now. I'm more of an old school car kind of guy, so I'm leaning more towards.
We need to find Dale a Crown Vic to bring out.
Yeah. Those actually handle pretty well.
I'll tell you, Dale, from personal experience, you're better off with a late '80s, early '90s Chevy Caprice than any police package Caprice than you are any Crown Vic. Guaranteed.
I've heard that. I've heard those things are beasts.
They are.
Yeah, I have autocross actually a Crown Vic, and it was a lot more fun than you ever would have thought. They're not the fastest thing in the world, but they actually handle pretty well for a big car. They're a good time.
I had an Opel Manta back in the day that I took out on the track a few times.
Oh, very
yeah.
That was like a little slot car, but yeah, recently I just I don't really have any track cars, so not yet anyway.
Well, these days they'll pretty much take anything out on a track. So if you get the urge and whatever you've got, I'm sure they'll welcome you out there. But for now, at least you got the sim racing and you can compete with us here on Monday nights for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
We got a couple minutes left here before we go to grid. Give you a chance if you wanted to give any special mentions, shout outs to anybody that may be watching in tonight.
Shout outs to you guys. I mean, you guys put on an awesome broadcast. Ricmotech for their hand in everything. My family, they're watching right now, so I just want to thank them for watching, and also Mike and Dave. It's like, I've learned a lot from them, and just hopefully we can continue on.
All right. Well, good luck tonight. Looks like grid's queuing up, and maybe with any luck, we'll get a chance to talk to you at the end of it.
All right. Thanks.
All right, everybody, there you go. Dale Maxwell, driver of the number 111 Toyota for Slow Bros Racing. Want to thank him for joining us here this evening before the race, Larry. And just like that, 8 TCR cars, 11 GR86 Cup cars, GS class racers all head to the grid. So let's take a look at the starting order. Starting on pole this evening in the TCR field is going to be D2D Sim Racing's Bailey Petrowski with a qualifying time of 1:17.086. Mike Dam finishing just about 0.3 off of that. He's going to start on the outside of the front row for Orion Racing. D2D's Eric Violette is scheduled to start third, with Travis Schwenke from Orion starting in fourth. David Payton from D2D will start, Dan Corrido from P1 Racing will start fifth, with David Payton starting sixth. And then we've got Pan Hydroday from Lead Paw alongside Ryan Haley making up that 8-car TCR field.
All right, on the club sports side, on the pole tonight, we'll get to it in a little bit, but he is your points leader coming into tonight's event, Andrew Sharp. Alongside him, his nearest rival actually in the points from the wrong stuff, Robert Schwenkler. On row 2, it's an all slow bros. It's an all Klim Club second row. Michael Klimovich will be on the inside and David will be on the outside. On the third row on the inside from Frito Sport Racing, Chuck Labano. On the outside from SDK Foundation, Jeff Jacobs. Row 4 on the inside will be Paul Carey from Carey Racing. And on the outside, we just talked to him, Dale Maxwell from Slow Bros. Row 5, with one of the flying tortoises, the flying tortoise himself, Russ Ruddock, lined up alongside John Casey, another Frito Sport entry. And then finally on row 6, RFC Racing's Robert Brist.
All right, there you go. As the pace car starts to take our lap here around almost 2 Mile Portland International Raceway. Just a reminder that tonight's race is presented by the SCCA Foundation, who provides funding for the SCCA Academy, training the next generation of race workers and volunteers that make real-life road racing events like here at Portland possible. Visit sccafoundation.org for more information.
Well, we'll get into the points later, but there's definitely some points implications here with the way this grid is set up tonight. A lot of rivals are right near each other. Could make things interesting. Keep your eye like we had even 2 weeks ago when Chuck Labano started down the order. came up towards the front. Same thing here. He's going to start tonight in 5th. We'll see if Chuck can make a run. Currently 3rd in the points. I'm sure he'd like to move up in the order as the race progresses.
All right, so Larry, as the field now heads through this section of the course here, coming out through what is known as the carousel, turns 5, 6, 7, and then come onto the back straight. It's got a little bit of a kink here, turn number 8, and then it brings you onto the back straight. Very quick run down this back straight, and I think that we'll probably see some passing opportunities down at the very end of it. There's a quick little, I don't want to call it a chicane, but some S's, turns 9 and 10 that bring you into the big sweeper, turns 11 and 12 down at the end of the course. This is a track, I think, with some of these corners, Larry, there's definitely the opportunity for the TCR cars in particular to maybe load up those front tires a little bit, maybe wear them down a little bit over the course of this race, although I wouldn't expect any of our racers when they come in for their pit stops to take tires. Was that...
It's Dale Maxwell showing us how the four-wheel drive would do it.
He's going to call some of his LEO buddies and do a drunk driving test or something. I don't know. As the pace car now is on the pit lane, turning things over to Bailey Petrowski, as they are going to come down this rather long front straight. And green flag is in the air, and we are underway here at Portland. Again, very wide front straight. Don't be surprised if they fan out, maybe 3, even 4 wide, Larry, but it will tighten up as they come down into the Shelton chicane, what used to be known as the Festival Curves. Bit of contact there between Bailey Petrowski and Mike Dam, and that might allow Eric Violette to scoot through, but doesn't quite get past Dam. He's got position, though, going into turn 4 as we jump over now to the CS class as they come through the Shelton chicane for the very first time. And it is Andrew Sharp and Robert Schwenkler, door-to-door. Schwenkler to the outside, Sharp to the inside, and they come through turn 4 and into that carousel. Now everybody getting in line as the Klimoviches, Michael Klimovich, then David Klimovich sitting 3rd and 4th with Chuck Labano in the 3046 Toyota just behind them. But all of our Toyotas all in very close proximity.
Really good job by Andrew Sharp through that first corner under duress from Robert Schwenkler. Sharp did a great job of holding his line on the right side of the track, even coming out of the opening chicane, going down in towards that turn 4. He managed to hold it inside, knowing that was going to be that next 4 and 5 section. He needed the inside line. So here he is leading the pack as they come down the end of the back straight through the turns 9, 10, sort of that chicane-like here at the east end. We'll see now as they get onto the front straight, does Schwenkler have any kind of a run, any bit of a draft, or what about those two Klimoviches behind him? How close can they get?
Yeah, and so here's the opportunity, because of the length of this front straight, for the drivers to, if they lost anything through some of the curves, to maybe make it up under the draft as they come down under braking again into the chicane, and where you can see how it's not a it's not like a bus stop like at Watkins Glen or what have you. It is a decreasing right-hander to come off of the front straight, and then it finally opens up at the end. But don't be surprised if you see drivers run wide and maybe even into the wall on the exit of that chicane before they ever make that run down to turn 4 as we jump back over to the TCR machines. And Petrowski's already opened up about 3 car lengths, but Eric Violette taking a look to the inside of Mike Dam through that chicane.
Yeah, he's like Dam got all kinds of crossed up there at the end of that chicane. Yeah. And it's such a high-speed entry, and there's so much slide going on there, giving up Eric Violette an opportunity here to get right up on the back of Mike Dam now as they head down the front straight.
All right, back to the Klim Club here. Slow Bros, David and Michael. Michael ahead in the 325, David behind. Again, that is the battle for 3rd at the moment. Chuck Labano in the gold Frito Sport machine directly behind.
Yeah, and it looks like even here, David getting a little bit defensive, popping out briefly down the straightaway there, perhaps more or less protecting against Labano making a move. Probably not David trying to make a move on Michael. So we'll keep an eye on these two slow bros ahead of Labano, as Labano's the one in the points challenge. Would love to get up into the top 3, but I think this is where we talked about pre-race with Dale Maxwell in the 4th. Of course, he's got David Klimovich in 4th. Dale's in 5th place coming in. So David would like to keep Labano behind him so he can then look at the points opportunities in the swing there. Sharp and Schwenkler are doing exactly how they came in the points. They're sitting 1 and 2 here early on, and this battle continues here as Eric Violet looks a little bit more smooth through that finish chicane.
He does.
A little better than Dam does at this point.
Yeah, you've got that little access road right just after the little chicane between turns 10 and 11. And, Dam is certainly using it to his advantage. He gets the car to rotate pretty well. I don't know if it's what he intends to do, but it's certainly happening. Now, also notice, Larry, here, as these racers, as the TCR cars come through the chicane, and obviously very stiffly sprung, and they're getting bounced up in the air quite a bit, I might be concerned about some of the Club Sport Toyotas as this night goes on. I think there's the opportunity for these racers, if they pop over to the inside of that curbing because of the weight transfer, and we've noted over the years how, one, they're very softly sprung, but they seem to they don't do very well with weight transitions laterally, that we might see again where that curbing possibly throws a car offline and maybe into the fence on the outside of that chicane.
Yeah, they need a different shock absorber perhaps on these cars, the way they just sort of pop up on 2 wheels if you hit the curb just wrong. Watching this here on board with David, as he takes, again, slightly different lines, and he's this lap particularly, he's being very efficient down there through that 5, 6, 7 section as they get onto the back straight, a little more so than Michael in front of him. Michael's probably just trying to follow in Schwenkler's wake back there, but David, very smooth, very efficient through that section. He knows he's got to be because he's got Chuck Labano right on his heels.
Wow, and there, David Klimovich getting a lot of the grass going into turn 10. Doesn't seem to slow the car down all that much, as Michael, David, and Chuck still within shouting distance of both Andrew Sharp and Robert Schwenkler ahead. They have not been able to move away from the cars back third and further.
Everyone behind them starting to push a little bit. You can see back there Jeff Jacobs, who's currently 6th, a little wide coming out of that opening chicane. That's going to cost him as he's not able to stick here with the Slow Bros and the Frito Sport team in front of him.
Yeah, and as he's dropping off a little bit behind him, Dale Maxwell, who we just spoke with, as well as Paul Carey, starting to fall off the pace. And, again, I think many of these racers, they other than perhaps this week during the practice sessions for the league, probably haven't had a lot of opportunity to race here at Portland, and there's a lot of nuance to it. Again, you've got these 2 incredibly long straights, over half the race course, but it's everything that ties them together, I think, that makes it a challenge now. As Labano tries to make the move through that chicane, he's going to run wide.
He's trying to follow David Klimovich through. David made a great exit before, and now he's going to ruin all of what he had worked on. He made a great exit there at turn 7 and was able to get alongside Michael Klimovich, makes the pass. Labano tries to follow through, and then David goes off in front of them. So now Labano may have just leapfrogged both of them, but now side by side in the front straightaway, it's Michael Klimovich on the inside, Labano on the outside into turn 1. Labano's going to have the nose ahead. Can he hold it all the way down to 4? I think he can. But now Jeff Jacobs, because he was clean of the back straight, he's in the middle of this too.
Yeah, I was going to say, Larry, that Jeff Jacobs, who just one lap ago, just, a minute 20 ago was about 10 car lengths back from this group as Labano went to the outside going into turn 9 and 10. That allowed Jacobs to come through. Jacobs actually used that same line that Labano used and just swept all the way around the outside of 10 and 11, maybe drove a lot further outside than he needed to, but he was able to pick up ground, and you could see what precipitated the issues there for Michael
David
Klimovich.
In front of them.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
David in front of them. He goes off, and now everybody's got to sort of check up from that. David goes from leading the pack to fourth in the pack, all in basically one straightaway. Opportunity lost if you're David Klimovich. He's going to have to work his way back around all of this. And there you can see Labano, who is the beneficiary of all that shuffling. It's exactly what he needed. He's got himself all the way up now into third.
Yeah, now granted that, and
Look
now
at this. Good run for Jeff Jacobs.
Yes, Jacobs comes underneath Michael Klimovich and now move Jacobs up into fourth.
He hold it into turn one, or will he get out on the brakes here? Michael Klimovich might try and test the brakes. He does. He can't make that hold, though. Oh, and almost contact coming back for Michael in the back of Jeff. Manages to keep it clean. I don't know how. The two Klimovich really getting shuffled back here with some of the erratic driving going on.
Yeah, and meanwhile, as Labano, Jacobs, and the two Klimoviches have been fighting it out, both Andrew Sharp and Robert Schwenkler now have a little bit of breathing room. Larry, probably a little early.
Look at that consistency, though, in Sharp's lap times. A 1.4, a 1.0, a 1.0, a 1.7, all in the ones. One of those laps was a 0.4, and that's it. That's super solid consistency for your race leader, Andrew Sharp. Two Klimoviches continue to battle. David around Michael again. I almost wonder if at this point David is a touch faster. I mentioned earlier his lines from basically turn 4 all the way around through 7 were a little bit cleaner than Michael's, and I'm wondering now if Dave is able to, if he can be consistent at the other end of the track, if he can put that to good use and maybe work their way back around Jeff Jacobs. You can see they're back on Jeff's heels going into 1. Just see how David does coming out of this 1-2 chicane. See if he can make a run on Jacobs as they head down towards 4. Good run there for Jeff Jacobs coming out of the chicane. See how Jeff does go around this long sweep, though. It's like a decreasing radius into 5, which is so tough to set up. It just really abuses that left front tire.
Yeah, and then coming through here, Larry, going through turn 6 to where the car really wants to push all the way out wide to driver's right. In many cases, you just have to kind of yank it back over to driver's left to set up for turn 7 over here. And
that's Paul Carey. Yeah, big spin there coming out of 6. It looks self-induced. In the background of the previous shot we were watching, you can sort of see him sliding around. Let's get a replay on him. I don't think he had any help here. I think he just sort of lifted the car.
Larry, he did, and didn't even drop a wheel.
He was on the curbing, but not on the grass until he was already going around. Well, that'll drop him to the back of the order. These two, meanwhile, take a look at our TCRs, continue in this order. They're now 3 seconds, almost 4 seconds back from Bailey Petrowski, but this battle seems to be heating up here between Mike Dam and Eric Violette. Not far behind him, Travis Schwenke and Dan Carrito having their own little battle. I don't think anybody in the TCR class, though, has changed positions from the grid yet.
No.
That's unusual. We're more than 10 minutes in, and not a single car has moved at all. And clearly, Bailey is deserving of that pole position. He's just pulling away, no matter what anybody behind him can do. In fact, he's catching the back of the Club Sports already.
Yeah, and he has to check up there. Larry, as he goes into turn 6, and this is probably from what the feedback that we got was during the testing this week is that for the most part, and I think Bailey definitely is the outlier here, the majority of the TCR racers, their cornering speeds through some of these turn complexes was on par, was about the same as the CS class Toyotas.
Yeah.
And what was happening was the TCR drivers found that they really needed to practice quite a bit of restraint here. And speaking of restraint, I thought maybe Schwenkler would wait a little while before taking it to Andrew Sharp, but he sees the chance to attack now, Larry.
I see Sharp defending here. Schwenkler almost had that corner. I think if he had just opened his hands a little bit mid-corner and run out, I don't think he realized how much room that he had to Sharp on the outside. He could have gotten a better exit there. Instead, Sharp holds the corner, but it is very close. Schwenkler, as you said, definitely getting aggressive here, not playing the patience game. Now that they've got about a 4-second lead on third place Chuck Labano, it seems the gloves are off for Robert Schwenkler. Getting good exit here, though. Yep,
And
I think at this point, Sharp realizes it. A little bit
Now
of
we're
a
going to
move
have a
there.
drag race down in the 9.
The drag race is on the front straight, guys, but we're going to do it here on the back, too.
And there
Good
you go.
pass, solid pass.
New leader.
Well, now we get to see as they swap positions, does Sharp have anything to counter? What can he learn by following Schwenkler now?
And
Now
Larry, to
behind
give
this-
everybody an idea of what happens when you do go through the Shelton chicane door to door, and when you go door to door down into turn 5, Chuck Labano that time almost a full second faster than the duo ahead.
Yeah.
So even though they had about a 4-second advantage, that is now down. Well, it's back to 4 seconds. It was actually closer to 5 when the previous lap started.
Yeah, this isn't one of those tracks you can run side by side and stay on par for lap times. It's really damaging here when you do give up that kind of time. So I'm really curious. We had seen as they came out of the chicane, Sharp looked like he had a pretty good exit. Maybe was thinking about a move, but tucked in behind, probably looking in his mirrors and seeing where Chuck Labano was. As we will get a good view of the pass here on the back straight. It's a replay of the previous lap where Schwenkler just had that great run, and Sharp just decided he wanted the inside lane and still wasn't enough. He has to give that spot up.
There you go. Very nice move. And so Sharp right on the back underneath the wing of Schwenkler. We'll see if they make a move a little bit later, as the rest of the TCR field now starting to come through the back of our Club Sport racers. There again are, pardon me, oh my gosh, Travis Schwenke and Dan Carrillo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Schwenke just a little bit off the pace, it seems, tonight. Maybe another one of those that didn't quite get the practice time in with this relatively new track in here. There's Mike Dam, his own teammate. Normally they're a little closer on pace than we're seeing here. And Carrito not being very aggressive. He seems to be content following Travis around. Not like there's anyone threatening from behind. Fifth place, Carrito has got about 10 more seconds back to David Payton in sixth.
And Larry, we got word just before the race tonight, actually heard from Eric Violet, that Chris Thorman, who is not in the field here this evening in the TCR class for D2D, had a chest injury earlier today. And
hopefully he's all
word
right.
was he was, yeah, hope he's recovering. Violet said he was very, very quick in practice this week. Fastest of the TCR cars was, not surprisingly, Bailey Petrowski,
Well, just watch that little move of Petrowski going through traffic there. As the duo in front of them have their own little battle going on. I think this was the...
Yeah, this is Sharp retaking the lead from
Yeah.
Schwenkler. And you saw that little bobble by Schwenkler going into the chicane. That was just enough. That inability to get the power down immediately was just enough to allow Sharp to get by.
Well, they've swapped twice. See if they can continue this. And now, of course, they're going to have Mike Dam, who seems to have finally been able to pull away a little bit from Eric Violette. They hit that battle going for a number of laps. Now the gap about a second and a half. This could close it up a little bit, as Dam's going to have to wait for these two leaders in club sport to kind of do their thing before he can use his TCR power to go by, which he finally does.
Yeah, and just as we said during the practice this week, the TCR racers had to practice some restraint because they were just finding that a number of the passing opportunities they thought they had, really, they could not make it work.
Yeah.
Interesting to see how the TCR cars manage that chicane, and you know, typically the rear wheels on those cars don't do terribly much for the car, but you know, certainly when you're getting down to the slower speeds and you're harder on the brakes like that, to get the rear end to rotate and not just have this terminal push from the TCR cars, it's definitely a balance.
Jeff Jacobs still sticking to the back of David Klimovich. They've shaken Michael just a little bit, but otherwise this good battle here for fourth and fifth. Jeff Jacobs isn't really going anywhere yet. We've seen some flashes of some really good driving here from David, but he's had a couple of moments that he's probably wanted to already forget, but now he's got to really be consistent or he'll give up the spot to Jeff Jacobs.
All right, so as we've got the TCR cars, Larry, on lap 16 right now. Most of, and I think all of the CS class Toyotas are just a lap down now at 15 laps. Pretty big pit window here tonight. As a matter of fact, the pit window is just opened for the TCR cars right around lap 15. We think it's going to extend out to lap 30, and for what should be a 45 lap race for these TCR cars. For the CS class racers, it's been open for a couple laps now. Actually opened up right around lap 11 and is going to extend out to lap 31, so almost 20 laps for that pit window. Although it looks as though, you know, judging on the pace, I would think that most of the racers here, Larry, at least in club sport, have probably gone out with a full tank.
See if anybody decides to do anything earlier, if this just becomes the more traditional late. But flash in with our leaders here, Sharp and Schwenkler are still swapped the lead a couple times, yet still not much between them, just that one car length. Seems like the rest of the TCR has been managed to make their way around them, not really disrupting this battle at all, and that's good for us.
As they come down into the chicane at 9 and 10. And Sharp looking somewhat strong there, but look how late on the brakes Schwenkler is coming into turn 10. He makes up a lot of it and doesn't seem to lose much in the way of exit speed by just jumping on the binders there.
Yeah, I wonder if at some point he'll switch a strategy to lagging back a little bit, use some of the straightaway draft and try and save some fuel. But here he seems like the pressuring models, the more the way he's going to go, even popping out a little bit there under braking to show Andrew that he's still there.
So Larry, as we were saying, I've had the honor, and maybe honor isn't the right word, of calling a couple races at the Delta Park complex over there at Portland International Raceway. It really is a gorgeous facility. It's actually a Portland city-owned state park that the facility sits in. And besides the racetrack itself, just back behind where these cars are now, directly to the back of the carousel area, there's an 18-hole golf course, and a lot of different activities take place. The Portland region of the SCCA holds autocrosses in the parking lot down by where the drag tower is, just coming out of turn 12. One year I was there calling a race, and there was a 5K running race. And heading into the pits, Larry, pitting in now, we said it was a big pit window. Andrew Sharp comes in from the lead, and he's going to be the first. I don't know if it's first to blink, but I don't know what that says, Larry. If he went out on a low fuel load compared to Robert Schwenkler, with Schwenkler able to stay with him.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody would have done the low fuel load, just because it would slow down your pit stop mid-race. It would be an interesting tactic to give you a light car early in the race. That's a pretty quick stop, though.
Yeah.
There for Andrew, just under 10 seconds, I think. So,
right,
the good news for him.
Yep, yeah. He's going to rejoin in 9th.
Yeah, not a lot of traffic around. He's got a couple of seconds at least before he catches the next pair in front of him.
There with maybe a little bit with a little clean air, not being pressured by Schwenkler. Maybe he can do a little bit of fuel savings towards the end. Looking out the rear window of David Klimovich and the number 21 Slowbros machine, Jeff Jacobs behind. This is the fight for the moment for third in Club Sport. See, Larry, they're pushing out a little bit further onto that curb at the exit.
Yep. Just a little bit. David's really got to be consistent here, though. As I mentioned, Jeff Jacobs is usually pretty solid, and one little mistake from David could cost him, so he's got to be extra careful here, running in a good, solid position. Doesn't want to give that up. Interesting how he runs a very different line there through 6. At the exit of 5, he runs out. Exit of 6, he runs out and has to hustle back. Jeff's a little bit more efficient on all of those. That's the autocrosser. It's always the min distance. Jeff's showing that's how we typically do it. Got a good run here. I don't know if he's going to pop or not. I think Jeff may stay in line.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to get out of the throttle just a little bit early and carry some speed through the corner. And again, part of being efficient there, Larry, is knowing how to manage that speed through a corner.
Yeah, that would really demonstrate that. You watch him sort of float the car across the 2 apexes there at 9 and 10 and let the car run out to the exit at 10 without really disrupting anything, and then take your speed off gently. Really kind of showed you how you could just let the momentum of the car do its work for you. Good couple of late apexes here. And he's being very efficient as Jacobs, very consistent, easy to repeat the way he's driving, which is good. I think that's important in a track like this to not make too many big mistakes. As we get a little battle here, Dale Maxwell, Michael Klimovich, a couple of teammates.
Didn't we discuss whether or not there were going to be team orders, Larry, based on point standings?
The only order, I think, was don't hit each other, and it looks like they've satisfied that requirement pretty well here. And again, looks like Dale choosing that line a little more like we saw David Klimovich do, where Michael is taking the line a little more like Jeff Jacobs did. So it's interesting watching again, whether it's the wide or the tight.
Tight.
I prefer the tight myself, as we got a good look there. Pan Hiraday on the back straight in his own little battle with Ryan Haley in the middle of the battle of David Klimovich and Jeff Jacobs.
Oof.
It's an intense little grouping there.
As Haley ran a little bit wide, but didn't hurt him all that much, and able to continue with a little bit more pace than Pan just behind. They clear Jeff Jacobs, David Klimovich as well.
Well, here they gets a better run, I think, but not the track position coming out of the chicane. In fact, there's Pan running a little wide going into 4.
Anticipating Ryan Haley coming over into his door.
Yeah. So let's watch their line here, as we were talking about that with the club sports. Does either one of them run wide here coming off a 6? And you can see Haley does. Hiraday is going to take the shortest distance between 2 points, and he's going to get that position back.
Yeah, and you can see the difference, Larry, just in watching the Slowbros car directly behind, how much ground it picks up, again, by being tidy versus being pushed all the way to the outside. The driver's right is Eric Violette, the first of our TCR racers to take service.
See what that does as the race progresses. We're right at the halfway mark here. See what that does in his battle with Mike Damon to try and hold off Travis Schwenke behind. But these two continue to fight it out as Pan and Ryan. Looks like they're going to end up side by side again here on the front straight. Ryan's going to finally tuck in, maybe use just a little bit of that draft. I don't know if it's going to be enough here.
Pokes out again.
Oh, he's going to use it. Oh, he could have gone with it, but he decides to back out and avoid any sort of incident. A lot of curb there, though, for Hiraday.
And interesting there, Larry, is they came out of the chicane as Hiraday, as Haley, stuck to the inside a little bit. Definitely compromised his line into turn 4 in the hopes that Hiraday would run wide and maybe off into the grass, as we've got both Travis Schwenke and Dan Carrillo, who have been seemingly attached, maybe not attached at the hip, but attached at the nose and tail here all race long, heading to the pits together as well.
Now, this will be interesting when they come out. Anybody able to just take on a little less fuel? Is David Payton also going to come into the pits?
And now from Club Sport, coming in from the lead is Robert Schwenkler. So that will move Chuck Labano, who's just now coming through the final corner, up into the lead in Club Sport, at least temporarily, as Jeff Jacobs takes service as well.
So everyone decided to just come in at the halfway mark tonight. Of course, the exception of Andrew Sharp, and we'll see what happens to Andrew as all the folks in front of him cycle through the pits. Chuck Labano, as you mentioned, has not yet. Neither has the Slow Bros team behind him.
So Schwenkler rejoins in 7th, while Jeff Jacobs rejoins in 9th. And they're split right now by John Casey, who has not brought his Toyota in for service yet.
Some things never change as Bailey Petrowski continues to lead this race. Working his way through traffic, doing what he does. Current gap, 7 seconds on Mike Dam from Orion. He's going to be catching some more traffic, but I'm wondering if he's going to pit, and it looks like he is right now, right on cue. Thanks, Bailey.
All right, so that will put Mike Dam up into the lead as he now crosses the start-finish line to start lap number 26. As Andrew Sharp almost almost gets around Mike Dam going through the Shelton chicane there.
Well, Dan Carrito is able to make the pass.
Indeed.
Schwenke now is trailing of this battle.
Yeah, and Larry, I think that was all in the pits as Dan Carrito was in his pit stall for 2 fewer seconds than Travis Schwenke, although lost about a second of it in transit, either in or out. But that is the difference right now, just about a second. So, yeah, so let's do this, Larry. Mike Dam, our leader, we may see him come in to the pits here in just a moment. If he runs out for another lap, I'm just wondering, and yeah, he is going to take another lap. Let's do this. We're right up at the top of the hour. Why don't we take our break? Thanks to our partners and sponsors. And when we come back, we'll take you all the way to the checkered flag here at Portland International Raceway, the Delta Park Complex, here on Apex Racing TV, where you're watching the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup presented by the SDK Foundation. Stay with us.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The SCCA Foundation is a 501c3 organization serving as the charitable arm of the Sports Car Club of America. One of the programs partially funded by the foundation is the SCCA Academy, an online learning management system used to keep real-life racing track officials up to date on the highest standards of race safety and officiating. Through this program, the SCCA Foundation is supporting the future of the best-trained corner workers and event officials in motorsport. You can support these efforts at www.sccafoundation.org.
The search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Welcome back to Portland International Raceway and the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup, where currently Mike Dam is your leader in TCR. Yet to pit, however, Bailey Petrowski, who has pitted already. He is about a half minute behind in second place. Eric Violette running in third. In Club Sport, Chuck Labano is your leader with David Klimovich and Michael Klimovich running 1, 2, 3. They are yet to pit. Andrew Sharp, our leader early on, has already taken service. He's currently sitting fourth. And Sharp is, what, about 6 seconds back from Klimovich and about, what are we, about 17 seconds out of the lead. And that should be enough based on the transit times to easily move Sharp back up into the lead.
Gotta wait to see how long before we get Mike Dam in the pits. He's really pushing it to the other end of this pit window.
And Larry, for the TCR cars, we thought that the pit window might extend as far out as lap 30, and he is on lap 29 at the moment.
And on his way in. Maybe?
No.
Yes, maybe? Maybe no?
No, he's a long way past the pit entry.
Yeah. All right. I'm sure he just wants to make sure he stays ahead of Eric Violette and stays no worse than second in this race. Doesn't want to have two of the D2Ds in front of him if he can help it.
And right now, Dam has, what, 38 seconds on Violette.
Yeah.
Pit lane transit times,
which includes the front straight.
Yeah, have been somewhere in the 45-second range. Or not 45, but like 41 and up. By running that fuel load down, he may be able to get it down to like 39 seconds. And Larry, the gap right now is at 38, so it's going to be close.
Yeah, I think the delta on a pit lap is closer to about that 30-second mark. Just kind of comparing, for example, Travis Schwenke's pit laps. He's been running roughly 120. He ran a 134 and a 142 on those 2 laps. Okay. So you add that delta to it, and it puts you right around that 30-something seconds, which, as you say, is about the gap right now to Eric Violette that he's got to watch for.
And Travis Schwenke and the other Orion machine taking another look down at Dan Carrillo. Of course, Carrillo did manage to get around Schwenke in the pits.
Carrillo's doing a good job
Mike
here
Dam
tonight.
In the pits.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on Mike Dam and that Orion pit crew. They've had practice with his teammates, so let's see if they can nail this pit stop. Give him just the right amount of fuel to make it for the next 19 minutes or so.
As Bailey Petrowski goes across the start-finish line into the chicane, he will retake the lead. The question is whether Mike Dam comes out ahead of Violette, and he does with about 5 seconds to spare?
About that, yeah. There's Violette just clearing a couple lap cars to be able to get back into that third spot. So it's Petrowski, Dam, and Violette right where they were before the pit stops. Different little deltas between them. Burrito and Schwenke, the big swap there, came in 5-4 and now come out 4-5.
All right, and as Robert Briss takes his Toyota down the pit lane, pitting in from 10th position in Club Sport, that leaves still Chuck Labano, David, and Michael Klimovich, as well as John Casey, yet to take service in Club Sport. All of our TCR drivers, we are making the assumption that they are good to go until the checkered flag.
Labano running decent laps up in front too, so we'll see what kind of gap there is between he and the Sharp and Schwenkler assumed leaders they were before the pit stops.
There's Carrillo now coming up on Ryan Haley's number 58 machine.
Haley
and
trying to get out of the way.
Yeah, I think he's trying to get out of the way, and Carrillo's trying to get a draft.
Just a little bit. Carrillo using everything he can to try to hold off Travis Schwenke as they go through that 1-2 chicane here. This chicane here, 1-2, just reminds me a little of a track that you and I have seen before, NCM down in Bowling
Yeah.
Green, Kentucky. That same sort of long
Down
straightaway
at turn
into
one
that.
at the end of the front straight. Yeah.
Yeah, this one a little slower entry, but it's got the same sort of exit that the exit has at NCM. NCM's entry is definitely faster. Mikey's going to get a good exit here. We'll see if it's enough. We'll see if Carrito used maybe too much curbing there on the exit.
Just what I was thinking.
He's got to run, but there's some draft traffic up ahead. Robert Brist looks like he's going to move over and let this battle through. Schwenke, not enough.
And you see there also where Carrito cheats over maybe a quarter of a car width the driver's left.
Yeah.
And just enough to make Schwenke think not only twice, but maybe 5 times as to whether or not he should make that move going in the
maybe
9.
This is not the place for this pass.
Yeah, exactly.
As up in front of them should be a pan here today. The next car, they might actually lap in the next lap or so. Rio looks like he carries a little more speed into 1. Or Travis might be braking just a little bit more conservatively into 1.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. As you watch, I think on the previous lap we had the in-car from Schwenke that we were able to see what his hands were doing, and just an economy of motion in the hands going into turn 1 and going through that chicane. That the car doesn't seem to have to throw the car around as much as some of the other TCR racers have been tonight.
I love in the chat. Christine was watching in, and laugh out loud. Did anyone expect to see the drivers in the car? Well, yes.
Yes.
You can actually see the outline of the drivers in the car, and I can tell you what, if you, in your own sim racing, if you leave on the view where the driver's hands are in front of you, you're actually looking at your own hands, which is great if you're using VR. I don't like it when I'm not. When I'm using just my regular triple screens, the hands on the driver's wheel in front of me actually get distracted because
it distracts
gives me
as well.
forearms.
Yeah, you already have your own hands there.
Yeah.
You don't need another set of hands.
I'm good with just the 2 I've got. I need 2 more. But yes, it's great to see them. In fact, we get certain camera angles. We can see the driver's heads turning and stuff too. You almost expect them to stop and wave at the camera, but they don't have that function.
Exactly.
There's no easy access button to hit wave at the camera.
All right, Michael Klimovich comes in and takes service. He is the last, I believe, of our TCR driver, or probably CS drivers to take service, and he's going to rejoin behind Jeff Jacobs in 6th.
Quite a bit behind Jeff Jacobs, in fact.
Yeah.
But we check in with this battle of Dan Carrito and Travis Schwenke as they've gone around Panhiraday, at least at this point. But the battle continues, and we'll see it this way. It's only 15 minutes left. See if Schwenke has any opportunity here to try and make a move on Carrito for that 4th position.
And make sure to join us here next Monday night, 8:10 p.m. Eastern Time, as the Ricmotech World Challenge heads to Algarve, to Portimao, to a very, very challenging race course. Actually, a beautiful race course, Larry, as we go to Portugal. Lots of P's in that in there, and that is going to be another one of our 75-minute races on the schedule. And then in 2 weeks, the Touring Car Cup, our GR86 and TCR racers, they're going to be heading north of the border, but they're not going to British Columbia, Larry. They're going to be heading back east and heading to the province of Ontario. We're going to be going to Mosport, to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Well, Portimao will be great. I do like that track a lot. I think that'll be a lot of fun to see on that circuit. Haven't seen that, I don't believe, anywhere in our Ricmotech series in the past, so it'd be really neat to see.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if we ran it one season right after it came onto the iRacing platform. I think we may have. I'll have to double check.
It's a neat track, of course, the full Formula One spec place. I think it'll be a good circuit. It's got a lot of varieties of corners, that's for sure.
Maybe we haven't been there before. Yeah, I think you're right. We haven't been there.
Yeah, well, we'll be there soon enough for sure. As Club Sport race leader Andrew Sharp moves over for a couple of TCRs coming through. That's the Corrido and Schwenke battle, and Sharp trying to yield as best he can.
Yeah, doesn't want to give up too much time, Larry, but he has over 4 seconds on Robert Schwenkler. That early pit stop for Schwenkler didn't really work out for him.
Yeah, so a couple things for Sharp. Yeah, worked great for Sharp to do what he did, avoided a lot of traffic, I think.
Yeah.
Also, he seems to have been more efficient. Andrew Sharp about 1.5 seconds faster than Robert Schwenkler in their pit stalls. Tells me that Andrew either correctly calculated his fuel or thinks he can save some a little bit, or perhaps maybe he didn't. And then maybe in about 10 minutes we're going to find out how slow his pace goes if he's trying to save fuel at the end of the race.
Well, he's going to have to go awfully slow, I think, to give up 4 seconds. As look at that, as Travis Schwenke getting very wide, coming through 9 and 10 and through that little chicane, gives up a little bit of a gap to Corrido ahead. Is
Corrido getting a little impatient.
Yeah, furiously flashes the lights at
It's Paul Carey.
At Paul Carey ahead.
Paul's doing everything he can to stay out of Travis's way. Travis running to the right. Paul went to the left. Everything worked out just fine.
As we've got just a touch over 10 minutes remaining, and Bailey Petrowski, your leader in TCR, with Mike Dam second, Eric Violet third.
Is it me, or does this track have elements of Summit Point, one of your, local, one of your most?
To some extent, yeah. The little carousel area between 5 and 6, yeah, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, just kind of that onboard shot of that kind of medium speed, slightly varying apexes around that you're kind of full throttle through, maybe not.
Yeah.
Just had that sort of feeling to it. And Summit has definitely more elevation than here, but not a lot more.
No. Well, yeah. You got
this is 4 feet.
One
Summit
big
can't be
hill
more than
down,
10.
one big hill up, and that's
Yeah.
And of course, at Summit, you have deer and turkey to contend with. Here, they're just a whole bunch of killer geese that usually line up. So it's the Columbia River that the track doesn't butt up against, but it's pretty darn close. And there are typically a whole flock of geese that plant themselves right at the entrance, Larry, to turn 7. So right as they come through this right-hander, usually about 20 geese that they'll see right here, and it is not uncommon for those geese to walk out onto the track surface itself and challenge racers to do something about it.
Last thing you want to do is come across a goose while you're trying to race another competitor.
Yeah.
Wait till they model that in iRacing. We'll be racing like Phillip Island, a kangaroo will run across.
Yeah,
I mean, they can do
exactly.
this.
That's what you call the new damage model.
Yeah. They can put the sheep at Sonoma. Then we're there.
Yeah, but the sheep are smart enough not to wander down to the track. They just sit up there and eat the grass all day long.
They only do that
hill.
at Thunder Hill.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's right, at Thunder Hill.
All these great West Coast tracks that I never get to visit, but I know they've got great stories. A lot of unique personalities at these wonderful West Coast racetracks.
They're the little I don't know what they call these little like squirrels on steroids out at Laguna Seca that do nothing but run one of the hills leading up to the corkscrew, and they just run from one end to the other all day long. I don't know if they're like dropping nuts off, but it's like a field day, like a giant relay race from one end to the other. And then of course there are the vaunted kangaroo rats at Buttonwillow that nobody has ever seen, but it delayed the building of a racetrack for 7 years.
Well, I know there's was it armadillo at NOLA that lives on the front straight?
Yes.
That decides
Yes.
to poke his head out once in a while during races.
And believe it or not, Larry, at Watkins Glen this weekend, we had a Spec Racer Ford take out a groundhog between turns 10 and 11.
Between 10 and 11. Wow.
Yes.
That's way up there.
Yeah,
I'd
he
figure
spent
somewhere
more
down
time
like
over the
6 or
guardrail
7.
than the flaggers.
Yeah, I figured 6 or 7 down there in the lowlands. You find
No, he was up top.
Meanwhile, Travis Schwenke continues to pressure the back of Dan Canada Goose Carrito, trying to hold him off here and using every bit of
Carrillo runs
exit there.
very, very wide.
Yeah, well, that might be the opportunity that Schwenke was looking for. We've seen Schwenke back off a couple times. This is not backing off.
Yeah, here we go. And Carrillo's going to try to push him over.
That's pushing him way over. Schwenke backs out.
Oh, yeah.
And Schwenke backed out so far, he had nowhere to put himself.
Nowhere to go except through the grass.
So that was interesting. Carrillo kept inching. Let's get a replay of this great overhead shot. Thank you, John. As he inches left, and he kind of pushes Schwenke to no man's land. Schwenke goes right and then outbrakes himself into turn 9.
Yeah, that's something you can't hang on Carrillo. That was just Schwenke missing his braking point, not able to get the car turned
I
down.
wouldn't be surprised if the stewards at least let Carrillo know to not inch over like that again. But I don't think he actually cut him off because there was actually no overlap when he was moving left.
Right,
so,
exactly.
And it was still part of his one move. He never moved.
Yeah,
back
exactly. It was a very slow one move, Larry, but it was one move.
Yeah. In fact, he tracked out because that back straight is actually a giant curve. He just kept walking left as the track curved right, but there was no overlap, so he had every right to do it. And I don't know if Travis appreciated it as much. Travis certainly broke himself into a problem afterward, but we'll see if they get together again. We got about 6 minutes left on the clock as this one continues to heat up. This is David Klimovich and Jeff Jacobs. We saw them early in a battle. I thought David was going to be clear of Jeff the rest of the way, but apparently not.
No, Jeff's managed to pick it up. But, one thing that we saw earlier in fight with these two racers is Jeff is maybe a little tentative under braking going down into the chicane. I mean, we talked about how in some of the other places around the track here, he rolls speed in the corners. And maybe not as heavy a foot on the brake pedal as Klimovich, but he gets on the brakes, or at least maybe gets out of the throttle a lot earlier than Klimovich going down into turn 1. David, I think that's Peyton. As David Peyton gets by them going into the chicane. With our leader, Bailey Petrowski, not that far behind, Larry.
Not at all. He may be faced with the decision of get in their way or just follow him for a lap or two, as he's got 7 seconds in hand if he wants to wait and spectate this little battle.
Looks like that's what he's going to do. Likely see here if he picks one off going down in the 4. Looks like he's going to do that, and he got both of them going in the 4. Oh, and this is exactly what Jeff Jacobs wants to see. That may have just slowed down Klimovich enough for him.
Well, Bailey has got his right to do it, but he's going to be, as you had said, these two do corner about the same rate through some of these sweepers. You get to the back straight, it'll be no longer a problem. Let's see if Jacobs can get a run right here. Perhaps pressure Klimovich by the end of the next straightaway. I think David actually got a better run, though, than Jeff, and may be able to fend.
Yeah, just when Jeff needed to be able to get the power down, had that left rear go to the grass, and maybe lost about a mile an hour, 2 miles an hour compared to Komovich ahead.
Guessing maybe 3 more laps as Bailey's coming up on the back of his teammate David Payton there. Put David a lap down.
All right, as we're at 57.5 minutes, 2.5 minutes remaining on the clock. And Bailey Petrowski with now 8 seconds to give over Mike Dam.
So yeah, good shot here of our overall leader. We hadn't done a ton of coverage of him tonight, considering he's kind of had this in hand since about 5 minutes in. But he's got to manage the end of the race. He's got to make sure that he gets it to the end. Meanwhile, the battle in Club Sport down to 3.5 seconds between Sharp and Schwenkler. There is Andrew Sharp, who had that early pit stop.
We were talking, Larry, how Schwenkler or Sharp, who had about 4.5 seconds at the end of the pit cycle. It was going to be a question of whether or not he did need to save some fuel here at the end of the race.
We're about to find out, because the last lap, Robert Schwenkler took out about 1/10.5. Let's see what he takes out this time, because that looks a little closer than what we've seen.
Yes, it does.
From Sharp to Schwenkler, first to second. The gap's down to about 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, it took about 4/10 out that time through.
Yeah. Let's see if Andrew is, in fact, just going conservative here, or if he does, in fact, have a fuel issue. Knowing, as we believe, he probably still has to go 2 more times around. All depends on where race leader Bailey Petrowski is. Right now, Bailey
is just coming out of the chicane.
I see a white flag in the background, though. So I think we are on final lap for Bailey.
That would make sense. We've got less than a minute remaining on the clock. So there you go.
Yep.
Last lap now for Bailey Petrowski. And so, yes, our Club Sport leader, Sharp and Schwenkler, will likely need to take another lap. I don't think Petrowski is going to get around him. He's just behind him on track here.
Yeah. And Schwenkler is about 3.1 back. So, and it's falling. It's falling fast. I don't know that it's falling fast enough if you're Robert Schwenkler to try and think you have a chance. But they should be coming as we're on board here with Schwenkler onto the front straight. You can see Barney will be up on the left waving frantically that white flag. He's up there somewhere.
There he is.
Start-finish stripe is way down there.
And right behind him, Bailey Petrowski flashing the lights, taking the weave, and taking the win here in round number 5 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge. Congratulations to him. Mike Dam will finish in 2nd. And Eric Violette takes the checkered flag for D2D. He will finish 3rd.
Down to 2.8 seconds here between the Club Sport leader Andrew Sharp and 2nd place Robert Schwenkler. I don't know that that's going to be enough unless he completely runs out of fuel. But he certainly is being conservative here in these last couple laps, or we'll call it being deliberate.
Yeah, I was to say he is, and we had an onboard from Schwenkler on the last lap, and he was definitely running it up to the red line. I don't think there's any question as to whether or not he thinks he can get to the checkered flag. But now, as he's about 2.5 seconds back with only 3 more turns to go, I think this race may be done. Should mention that Chuck Labano has already completed his race. He's going to take the bronze today, finish 3rd in Club Sport. And look at this, Larry. He may be out of fuel as he comes out of the final corner, but he's going to have enough margin there. Taking the win in Club Sport, Andrew Sharp, just a touch over 2 seconds, the margin of victory over Robert Schwenkler.
Yeah, I think he may have been over there waving at the crew as they do, at least symbolically, there for the Rapid Theft team, and get another victory here for Andrew Sharp. So well-run race. Had that battle early with Robert Schwenkler, able to hold him off. The early pit stop certainly did pay off for Andrew, and we'll see if he's happy when we get him in the interview booth.
All right, well, we'll do that in just a few moments. But first, Larry, we've got to take another break. And thanks to our partners and sponsors that bring you all the coverage here on Monday nights, where you've just seen round number 5, the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup. We'll be back in just a moment.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The SCCA Foundation is a 501c3 organization serving as the charitable arm of the Sports Car Club of America. One of the programs partially funded by the foundation is the SCCA Academy, an online learning management system used to keep real-life racing track officials up to date on the highest standards of race safety and officiating. Through this program, the SCCA Foundation is supporting the future of the best-trained corner workers and event officials in motorsport. You can support these efforts at www.sccafoundation.org.
The search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
Welcome back to Portland International Raceway, where you've just seen round number 5 of the Touring Car Cup. Let's take a look at that finishing order if we can. Mr. Grabowski taking the win in TCR tonight for D2D Sim Racing. Bailey Petrowski with Mike Dam finishing in 2nd. Eric Violette finishing in 3rd, just off the podium. And that was a heck of a battle, Larry. Dan Carrizo and Travis Schwenke right up until the very end. Carrizo finishing 4th, Schwenke 5th. Over in Club Sport, Andrew Sharp with the win, with Robert Schwinkler 2nd. Chuck Labano finishing 3rd. And then David Klimovich for Slow Bros finishing just off the podium in 4th, with Jeff Jacobs 5th. All right, let's do this, Larry. We've got a couple of our racers in the green room waiting for us. Let's start off with the driver who finished 2nd tonight in his Club Sport Toyota, driving for the Wrong Stuff. It's Robert Schwinkler.
All right, joining us here from the Wrong Stuff Racing. Finished 2nd tonight, Robert Schwinkler. And Robert, heck of a battle there with Andrew for the first part of that race. Walk me through a little bit of how that went from your view.
Yeah, it was a great race. I really was just trying to hook onto the back of him and just stay with him. I wasn't really sure what he was planning on doing for pit strat. So when I saw him dive in, I was like, all right, I'll just try to put my head down, and I kept making dumb mistakes. So I dove in earlier than I had planned on it, thinking I could get out ahead of him. But yeah, he just had a little bit more pace and was able to get through the traffic better. And yeah, I think had I come in a little bit earlier, I might have been able to stick back to the back of him again. But yeah, I was chasing him down there the latter half of the race, and as the fuel started to get light, I had a pretty big code brown. I don't know if the broadcast caught it, but I almost lost it in the last sector. Yeah, good times.
Yeah, and we were watching, sort of keeping an eye on that gap towards the end there. Maybe Andrew's getting a little conservative at the end as you were catching him. Didn't look like he was going to leave you enough time to be able to do it. But the early part of that race, though, you guys, and we've got a little bit of replay, you guys went side by side quite a few times. You got by him, he got by you. You guys were side by side. That looked like some of that respectful racing we've seen in the first couple rounds. Is that how it felt like too? You guys were really just able to go mano-a-mano?
Yeah, I honestly thought he was like lifting to let me by, because he like checked up quite a bit, and I thought maybe he had an issue, but then he hooked back on the back of me. So yeah, I mean, just he's a great competitor, super great racecraft, and always knows how to keep it clean. So it's great racing with him.
Yeah, we'll take a ton of fun. And for you, right up there on the podium, second spot for you tonight. Great job for you, and the points will reflect that. But I know that you've probably got a big team, I know, and friends and family behind you, if you want to give them a mention.
But yeah, a big shout out to the team. We had some really great results in the Watkins Glen 6 hour. And shout out to Ken Copeland, for those that know him. He and I ran and got P6 on our split, so it's a good job to that. Yeah, it was really great. It was a lot of fun. But as always, shout out to you guys for the broadcast, and to all of our team sponsors, VRS, SimCoach, Be Safe, Dangerous, SimMotion, Abruzzi. Appreciate all the support, and shout out to all friends, family, whoever's watching. Really appreciate you guys, supporting the channel and the league and all the things. It's really great. I love the racing in this series. I hate to see it go away, but when it comes back, it's always super fun.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun one to watch tonight. So congrats on the second place for you tonight in the Club Sport class. From The Wrong Stuff, Robert Schwinkler.
Thank you, gentlemen. All
right, so let's move over to our Club Sport winner tonight, Larry, racing for Rapid Theft Racing. And I'm not saying he stole tonight's race, but he ran a very.
If he did, I know
a
guy who knows a guy about putting him in jail somewhere.
Yeah,
we need to go there.
Yeah, exactly. There's somebody in Slowbros that we can always go to if need be. Let's bring in our winner tonight, driving the Rapid Theft Toyota. It's Andrew Sharp.
All right, Andrew Sharp, our winner of Club Sport tonight. Andrew, great race for you. It looked like you had quite a battle going, and then you kind of took to the pits a little bit early. Was that to sort of find some clean track?
Yeah, I was just trying something different, because him sitting behind me, you can just save fuel and get a shorter pit stop. So I had to try something different, and got lucky with some traffic and was able to just get some clean laps in. So that worked out really well. But Robert ran a great race in that first part, and it was super fun racing with him.
That looked like a ton of fun, the first part of this thing. We just talked to him a second ago about that respectful racing that you two seem to have. Walk me through a couple of those moves where you guys were side by side all the way through the opening chicane, down into 4, 5, and 6. How is that racing alongside Robert in those kind of places?
Yeah, he's super respectful. Turn 1 and turn 2 are terrifying, but you just kind of have to trust that the person's going to be able to give you that outside lane or that inside lane, depending on where you are. So it was just a lot of trust, but the other parts of this section are super, super fun. It's just super technical, and being able to go side by side is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looked like some great racing. And as it came down to the end, maybe you were just sort of backing off a little bit, managing that gap, being a little bit conservative, maybe just giving him a little glimmer of hope.
I was scared we were going to have another lap. I thought there was a chance for it, and I was like, I don't not have enough fuel, so I was trying to save to make sure I had at least a little bit to get across the line. But yeah, I mean, other than that, just be able to try and maintain that gap as best as possible.
Yeah, well, great stuff. Solid win here. I think it makes it 3 wins now in 5 rounds for you. You've got the points lead, but nothing's locked in yet. You definitely got some work to do as we get into the final stretch here of our season. But tonight you get to celebrate the victory, and I'm sure you've got some teammates, some family and friends that you want to give a shout out to.
Yeah, I always got to give a shout out to DC Race Engineering for the setups, and then saw the F1 movie on Friday, so I want to give a shout out to Sonny Hayes for getting this old 26-year-old some inspiration for driving with the best. So yeah, it was a great weekend and a great way to start off this week.
See, Greg, old people can inspire the young. Isn't that good to know?
Yes. Either that or he thinks that Sonny Hayes was only 26 years old.
Compared to us, everybody looks 26.
That's right.
All right, Andrew.
Brad Pitt, man. He's always young.
He is. All right, Andrew. So great job tonight getting the win here for Rapid Theft Racing. Andrew Sharp, congrats.
Thanks. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, almost like Benjamin Button. All right, Larry, let's move over to TCR now, where we have just our winner here waiting for us tonight. Great race once again from this week, driving the number 115 D2D Sim Racing Hyundai. It's Bailey Petrowski.
All right, joining us, your race winner from TCR, from D2D, Bailey Petrowski. And Bailey, another solid win here. You just sort of inched away from the field. But I want to go back to a moment during the race. There was a little battle of some club sports going on, and I swear we saw you dive between them for a moment there. I wasn't sure you were going to make it. Do you remember this moment I'm referring to?
Yeah. I don't remember who it was with, but I do remember that. I believe it was going into turn 3, and I was on the left side, and there's a car directly in front of me. There was a tight squeeze. I believe that's the one you're referring to.
Yes.
But...
yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, you made it through clean.
It worked.
It looked exciting for a moment at least. You had to make something exciting tonight, and that was it. But yeah, early on, the battle, your teammate was in a battle with Mike Dan behind you. Maybe that helped occupy Mike a little bit and let you get away. It's always good to have Eric helping that kind of action going on. But you seem to be just solid and typical, consistent. Is this track? Have you before this week? Did you have a lot of seat time yet, or is this one you actually had to put the work in and learn this in short term?
I've driven the track once before, and it was an Indy car, so pretty much complete opposite of this car. So, yeah, it was a bit of a learning curve, especially through some of the off-camber corners. With the front-wheel drive, it's very difficult to try and control the throttle while also turning, and especially with the track temperature tonight, it was so hot. It was a lot of trying to save the tires just to make it to the end there, and just kind of all of that being mixed together made it very difficult to be consistent. I'm pretty happy with how I did. I was making a lot of mistakes, but I think I pushed a little too hard at the beginning. I got excited that I was pulling away from everyone, and then that very quickly changed and Mike was matching my pace. But yeah, it's a tough track. It's very fun though. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it looked like a ton of fun out there again tonight. And the traffic, because it's a relatively short track, it really brings in more of the laps, more of the traffic. You even are starting to get through some of the TCR field and having to mix it up with them. So looked like fun, but for you, another win here. I think this is 5 in 5 rounds, so 5 straight for you here in this series. Got a couple more rounds to go, but you're looking pretty solid. Are you looking forward to where are we next in a couple of weeks? Have you looked ahead of the calendar yet?
I did and forgot. So, but yes.
Greg will remind us where we are.
I'll remind you in just a few moments, Bailey.
Oh, perfect.
But in the meantime, if you want to give a shout out to any of those teammates or friends, family, sponsors, etc.
Definitely want to thank the team as always. Eric always puts in so much work towards the setups and testing and trying to figure out strategy. It's always great working with him. Thank the sponsors for our team as well as the sponsors to the series. Ricmotech, Butt Kicker for always supporting you guys at Apex. I do want to thank friends and family for always watching and supporting. Oh, and I'm blanking on who else to thank, but thank you all for watching, and thanks everyone racing. It was very clean tonight. It made it a very enjoyable race, and it gave me a little bit more confidence when passing some of the cars. But yeah.
All right. Well, congrats. By the way, the next round is Mosport in 2 weeks.
Oh, perfect.
And we'll go through the schedule with everybody here, but I'm sure you've run a few laps there. Shouldn't be much of an issue. But tonight you can savor this win here for D2D Sim Racing. Bailey Petrowski. Congrats.
Thank you very much. You guys have a good one.
All right. Thanks so much, Bailey. All right. So, Larry, real quick before I go over that upcoming schedule again, we did have one person in the chat ask how to join the series. And you can do that by going to xmsracing/series/TCC. And at the bottom of the page, there is a big button where you can click a button to join. The only problem is I believe that yesterday was the last day that you could join the grid for this season number 25 of the Touring Car Cup. But hopefully we'll see you. So we'll see you next season there, Mr. Gilbert. So Larry, coming up in the next couple of weeks, again, next week, Monday night, July 7th is our date at Portimao in Portugal. 75 minutes for our GTP, LMP2, and GT3 racers. And then in 2 weeks, again, the Touring Car Cup will be at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park at more well known as Mosport. And then in 3 weeks, that's July 21st, the World Challenge heads down to Brazil, heads to Interlagos for another 75-minute round. So want to thank everybody for joining us here tonight. Want to thank you, Larry. Want to thank John Grabowski back behind the scenes. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and everybody, if you're here in the States, have a wonderful 4th of July weekend, and we'll see you on Monday night. Have a great one, everybody.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.